Hi everyone, this is Rachel, your research librarian here at Guilford, and I just wanted to go through a few things with you. I came to your class the other day, but of course the library website was down at that time, so just want to run through a few things to help you get started with the research that you'll be doing for this class. So this is your guide. This is the only link you really need for library resources for this class, library.guilford.edu/reformation. And here you'll see the front page I've created for you. Just has some general information. I tried to find as many of your course readings as possible, things from the syllabus, and put them online for you. A lot of them are in the public domain, so it was relatively simple. I don't know that I got everything though, so double check. Don't rely on this list, obviously. You're going to need for your work in this class to find all types of different sources for the work that you'll be doing. So I'm just going to go through briefly each sort of source and kind of define for you a little bit how to find them. I'm going to start with primary sources, so I'm just going to click Find Primary Sources. One online collection of primary sources that I think could be particularly helpful to you all is called Europeana, so I'm going to click on that one. And I just want to do some basic searching here, see what I end up with. Sometimes these can be a little bit hit and miss in terms of how useful they'll be for you. I just want to see what I end up with. So I'm going to try Martin Luther. Okay, 9,840 results. Obviously not all of them are in English. Probably the best thing that we could do from here is limit it by what we're interested in here on the left. So let's say I'm looking for text related to Martin Luther. Primary sources. I don't read German, so I'm going to do language English. Of course, Martin Luther was writing in German, so we need to remember that a lot of what we're going to be seeing now is going to be translation. You could also limit by full text, which is always helpful, I think, because that shows you what we actually have direct access to now. And you can kind of just go from there and click through things and see what you're interested in. Some of these look like they might be interpretations of primary sources, but they're probably collections of them as well, so that could explain some of that. You can also browse in their collections, kind of just poke around a little bit. I haven't had a lot of experience with this site, but I have heard good things about it from students, so I'd recommend that you at least check it out. Another source that you should consider taking a look at is the Internet Medieval Sourcebook. It's produced by Fordham University. This link isn't on your LibGuide yet, but I will make sure that by the time I send this video to Tim to give to you all that it is. It'll be under primary sources. They have an entire section actually on Reformation. So if you click Reformation, now it's obviously not the most beautiful format, not the most usable sort of thing, but you could kind of click through and see what you're interested in. Obviously they've got quite a bit of Luther, Calvin, Catholic things. You could really kind of dig into this a little bit depending on what you're interested in. And again, some of these things are already on the guide, but you never know what you will find. You can also, if there's other things that you're interested in that perhaps are related, you could dig through that a little bit. The next thing I want to draw your attention to is the Find Books tab of this guide. I've got several suggested things that I've just sort of looked through and thought were impressive and might be helpful to you, and most of these are ebooks, I believe, and if you click on them it'll take you directly to the catalog listing for that ebook. And to access ebooks you click PDF full text, or sometimes it will say read full text depending on what platform it is. And you've got the table of contents here. You've got everything right in front of you. You can search within. If I was interested in searching Luther, it'll pull up my results, tell me exactly where the mention of that name is in this book. You can zoom in and out. You can print things, email things. I'd recommend not downloading the entire book because sometimes the download sizes can be unmanageable, and also sometimes it only downloads a page or chapter at a time. You can click Cite, and it will produce a citation for you. For this class, you'll be using Chicago or Turabian. And so you would just copy and paste this into your bibliography or footnotes. And you would want to check that against the manual, and I'm going to show you where you can find sources about the Chicago Manual of Style, so no worries there. I also want you to pay attention, I'm trying to get back to the main listing for this. I I'm not seeing it. Give me just a second and I will get back. Oh, I'm sorry. We started from here. If I were searching for an ebook in the library's catalog, I would put, let's talk about George Fox. And I'm going to put it in quotation marks because I want it to search that as a phrase. I don't want it to search the words George and Fox separately. So I'm going to see what we get. I'm going to narrow the format here to ebook because I want to show you a particular feature of ebooks. You're going to click Access Online. And as soon as it loads, what I wanted to show you was the sort of categories or subject headings. Sometimes what they're saying is, if you're interested in this source, if this was helpful to you, then you might also want to try these terms because they could be helpful to you. Now, you could also, there again is the downloading. I'm not going to recommend that, but that's up to you. You can kind of manipulate this, save it, cite it, print it, do anything you want with it. So it's a handy feature of ebooks. But obviously ebooks aren't the only thing out there. So I'm going to click on Format Book and open it up a little bit more. We have an excellent Quaker collection, just a grouping of Quaker books that are all kept in the same place here at Heggie Library. So if you're looking into things like George Fox, anything Quaker related, we probably have a copy. We also have an excellent archivist. Her name is Gwen, and she would be happy to walk you through primary sources or secondary sources like this related to Quakerism. I want to go back to your classes guide and take a look at finding articles. This can be a challenge for a lot of people. Probably the most popular database related to history is JSTOR. But before we get started, I want to make sure that you understand what peer review is. So I'm actually going to play this video within my recording. If you've already seen this video or feel that you've got the hang of it already, then you're going to skip about 3 minutes and 30 seconds forward.
Scholarly articles, academic articles, peer-reviewed articles. You may have heard these terms used by your professor, but what do they mean? Essentially, these are all different ways of describing the same thing, research articles that have been published in scholarly journals. But what is a research article, and how does it get published in a scholarly journal? First of all, the article reports a scholar's research practice and findings, and it's written with an audience of other researchers in mind. Finally, in order to be published and accepted by the scholarly community, the article must pass several quality tests. The most important of these tests is called peer review. We can get a better understanding of the role of peer review if we look at the academic publishing process as a whole. Let's imagine a researcher who wants to share a discovery with the academic community. To do this, he writes a draft article describing his research and findings and submits it for publication in a scholarly journal. Here's where the article has to pass its first test. The journal's editor reads over the article to decide whether it's a good fit for her journal. If it is, she sends copies of the article to a group of experts to evaluate the article's quality in a process called peer review. This is the article's second and most important test. These experts are the author's peers, since they're working in the same research area. And since they're making a judgment about the article, they're sometimes called referees. So peer-reviewed articles are sometimes called refereed articles. Each reviewer evaluates the article by asking questions to judge the quality and significance of the research. Questions like, what is this research about? Is it interesting? Is it important? Is the methodology sound? Are the conclusions logical? And are the findings original? Based on the answers to these questions, the reviewers decide whether the article is worthy of publication in the journal. They then make a recommendation to the editor, either approve the article for publication or reject it. Even if they recommend publishing the article, they usually expect the author to make revisions. The editor, however, makes the final determination whether the article should be approved, rejected, or revised. Rejection is common, though. The most prestigious journals are very selective about the articles they publish, so they tend to have high rejection rates. Some journals reject more than 90% of the submissions they receive. From the time the researcher first submits his draft article to the time it is finally published, several months or years may have elapsed. Once the journal is published, it is made available to subscribers, which are usually university libraries, because individual subscriptions are very expensive, often hundreds or thousands of dollars a year. By the way, like all established systems, the peer review system has its critics, and scholars continue to think about how the peer review process might be improved. The library has tools to help you find peer-reviewed research. If you want to know more about the peer review process or need help finding peer-reviewed articles, ask a librarian for help.
Okay, so I'd just like to show that video to classes to help them understand the difference between a magazine like Time and a more scholarly academic journal. Sometimes you'll hear these called refereed articles, juried articles, scholarly, peer-reviewed. They go by many different names. It's all generally referring to the same thing. One thing that I want you to do, rather than me going through JSTOR for you, I already have a JSTOR video that exists, so what I want you to do is stop this video that you're watching now, and I want you to go to your guide, library.guilford.edu/reformation/articles, and I want you to watch this video on JSTOR, and that will give you an overview. I hope that JSTOR overview made sense for you. I also want you to take a look at this video on Academic Search Complete. So I'm going to stop this recording again, and I want you to resume after you watch that video. It's directly below JSTOR. There is another source for articles that I would like to point out to you. Any of these would be great. Humanities International Complete is good. Project Muse, if you're looking for ebooks, I like that in particular. eTear pertains directly to this time period. The thing about eTear is that it doesn't give you full text articles, it just gives you bibliographies, which means it gives you the citations for things that would be helpful for you to research, which you then have to turn around and plug into our databases. And that can be a bit of a challenge for people, but I'm more than happy to help you with that. So if I were you, I would flip through some of these and think about looking for sources that seem helpful and then using our databases to find those. Again, eTear, it's directly related to this time period, probably one of the more useful things that you're going to find related to the Reformation. Just a few more things I want to show you. Again, like I said, you're going to be using Chicago or Arabian style citations. There's a link here to Purdue OWL's website, which gives you a great overview of exactly how to do it. Again, don't forget that the citations can be generated in the databases like I showed you, but you should be careful and always check them against the manual. I have copies of these manuals available at the research desk here. If you would like to go through it in person, I'd be happy to do that. Several tutorial videos for you. You can find these tutorial videos all over the place, really. They're quite popular on YouTube. And just a quick guide on when you should cite, things like that. If you need help, here's my contact information and a link to make an appointment with me. There's also a video that shows you how to use the calendar for appointments. The Academic Commons tutoring schedule for the fall might be helpful for you. I put together a couple things. I'm just sort of interested in this time period, so I looked at a couple, I think, just sort of interesting side things for you. A couple videos. I love Crash Course, so I included that. And then you can find the presentation that I was showing you in class the other day here. Types of different historical sources. It's going to differentiate for you, just a review. Again, searching books. I have a link here in the presentation that shows you how to find a book using the catalog online. It's under the Find Books tab of your guide as well. Primary sources, a couple more that we didn't talk about. Hanover Historical Text is great. Also this guide from NYU, which you can you have the link to because you have the link to your LibGuide. You can check that out. There's the peer review video, JSTOR. Project Muse, again, great for monographs. Humanities International Complete. Citations. When you're using images, especially for your website project in this class, it's important for you to remember that you have to cite all the images that you use. You're allowed to use them without permission because of fair use law, which says that if it's a nonprofit educational purpose, which this is, you're allowed to use the image as long as it's not out of context or misrepresenting the creator, which would be difficult for you to do, so don't worry about that. Excuse me. Once again, you have to cite. People ask, what if it's in the public domain? I would still cite anyway. I think it's just good practice as an academic. Okay. Some suggested image sources. Tim also had a suggestion for one, and I did add it to your guide under Find Images. We can go take a quick look. It was the web gallery of art. That was what Tim wanted added, so I made sure to do that. And I think this is actually a pretty cool website if you're looking for images. Also consider ArtStore. That's a very popular one. So that's it for this video. I hope this was helpful for you. Please don't hesitate to contact me. Again, I'm Rachel Sanders. I'm in the library. We'd be happy to help you with any research that you're doing.